Am I wrong for not accepting my sister's relationship with my ex despite her having cancer as a teenager? My 25 female father married my stepsister's 23 female's mom when I was 4 and she was 3. We've lived together for most of our lives and are a family. She and I were extremely close. She developed cancer when she was 14 and was sick for about 2 years. During that time, my parents became understandably overprotective. They also asked a lot of me. I quit my extracurriculars so that I could get a job, the money went towards her medical bills, and so I could drive her to appointments. I didn't go to dances, and any fun activities I did needed to include her. I did almost all of this willingly, the exception being having to quit my high school volleyball team. I did throw a bit of a tantrum about that, but was swiftly punished. And I think having one emotional breakdown was pretty chill given the circumstances. Anyhow, I go to college and meet my ex, we'll call him Ben, when I was a junior. We fall in love, blah blah blah. He and I move in together when we graduate, so we've been living together for about 3 years. We were serious until July when I walked into my bedroom and saw him sleeping with my sister. I broke it off, tears were shed, he moved out, etc. My sister apologized at first, but then backed off. I thought she was going to give me space, but last week she called and asked if we could meet up. She told me that she and Ben were in love and were just telling me as a courtesy before they started posting photos online. You gave up your fucking volleyball career for her? Distraught, I left her in the restaurant by herself and did not pay my portion of the bill. She later Venmoed me asking me for the money. You can steal my man, the least you can do is pay for my food. Like common courtesy. She then told my parents, who called me to their house, telling me how disappointed they are in me for not supporting my sister's relationship with Ben. They brought up the fact that because she had cancer as a teenager, she never learned proper social etiquette and has a hard time meeting people. Oh my god, no! I don't buy this, in part because I've seen her socialize just fine, and since we spent a good chunk of the time she was sick together. That would mean that I should have had bad social skills as well by that logic. They then told me that if I don't accept my sister and Ben's relationship, they may have to go no contact with me. I reminded them that I'm also their daughter and they should understand my point of view, but they are adamant that this is about me being jealous of her. For the record, I am not jealous of her. I'm not upset that Ben picked her over me. I'm sad about the end of the relationship and do feel betrayed. But Lord knows that I don't want to be with a cheater. What I'm sad about is the fact that my sister chose Ben over me. That she slept with Ben knowing he and I were in a long-term committed relationship and continues to be with him knowing how much it hurts me. Now, no one in my immediate family is talking to me and I'm getting messages from my aunts, uncles, and cousins telling me that I'm an asshole and a selfish bitch. So, am I an asshole?
I can't sleep, so I want to tell you it's keeping me up at night. So, in honor of Ramadan, I'm giving you a ghost story. So if you don't know, in Islam, like, ghosts and demons and all that, they're called jinn, and they get locked up during Ramadan. Why is this relevant? I'm scared of them. So now that they're locked up, I'm gonna talk my shit. So basically, it was snowing outside, of course, and it was me and my mom, and we were in Jordan, we're sitting on the couch, and we're watching The Exorcist, right? And it was just about to finish, and they put in some special about, like, the behind the scenes and how, like, the main actress broke her back mysteriously because of the haunting that was happening behind the scenes or whatever. Okay. While this was happening, we heard a giant in the hallway. And I literally heard that, and I remember this. Like, my mom was just like, she pauses the TV, and she's like, did you hear something? And I was like, no. I was like, I heard abso-fucking-lutely nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, I definitely heard something. I was like, Mama, just play. I gaslit my mother, is what I did. I just was like, no, you're hearing things. You're just getting old. Play the movie, please. And I was like, Grandma's awake, though, right? Just in case, you know, we have to make a little runaway. But, you know, my mom's about to play, and then we heard it again. And I was like, okay. She's like, I definitely heard something this time. And I was like, Mama, like, I just feel like we should call the cops, you know, call it a day and leave. You know what I mean? She was like, no. I definitely heard something in the hallway. We have to go check it out. And I was like, Mama, I'm like 12. What am I going to do? Let me just, like, can we go to Grandma's? She was like, no. Grabs a broom, gives me a broom. We walk through, we open the door, we walk through the hallway, and we don't hear anything. We stand there for like 5 minutes, you don't hear anything. And we're about to leave, and then we hear, and I was like, all of our windows have bars on them. There's no way a, like, burglar could sneak in, you know what I mean? And we also lived on, like, the 3rd or 2nd floor or something. So I was just like, there's no way someone snuck in. And I was like, Mama, like, I don't know. Like, something is off. She opens the door. We see her purse and a few of her things, like, on the floor and, like, knocked over. And I was just like, Mama, the window's closed. It's not colder inside here or anything like that. There's no way someone snuck in. And she was just like, I don't know. I heard something. I definitely heard something. And in the corner of my eye, I see something go, and I was like, Mama, there's a djinn. There's a ghost in the house. Casper is in the house. We need to leave. My mom's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, Mama, call the djinn. Let's go to my grandma's. Let's run. And she was just like, okay. We start getting dressed. We close the hallway door, and we think it's in the living room. We don't know what to do. And then in the corner of my eye, I see it again, and it like jumps behind the couch. And I was just like, Mom, it's in the corner. It's in the corner. I was like, I don't know. What do we do? What do we do? My mom starts praying. She goes like, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You know, in these high stress situations, whatever I'm told, I just do. She was like, throw a broom. I threw a broom. I threw the broom in the corner as if that's going to hurt a ghost. Then a rat ran out. It was a fucking rat the whole time.
So during my first week of university, my parents sent me money for textbooks, and I just went to the mall and I bought makeup and a pregnancy test, and I found out in a public washroom that I was going to be a mother at 17. So naturally, I dropped out of university and I began my hot mess 20s as a single teen mom with no education. I worked a minimum wage job until I was 19, and then I started bartending at like a sketchy dive bar in my city, and the tips were pretty good, but it was definitely like really dangerous. My friend was like, you can't work at this sketchy bar, so he put a good word in with his boss, which was actually at a bank, and I started my job as a bank teller. I knew that this was like going to be my only chance at a respectable life, so I actually worked really hard at the bank, and I got promoted multiple times, and I was a financial advisor in my early 20s. But then I had a quarter life crisis. I was friggin' miserable. I hated the corporate rat race. I felt trapped and like I had no life experience at all. So I went back to bartending, and I saved up like $2,300, and I bought a ticket to Thailand. I really need to get some perspective, and I was the happiest I'd ever been when I was traveling. So at that moment, I vowed to forever chase freedom. But life happens, and as soon as I got back to Canada, I went back to working in finance. But I was totally miserable almost right away, and I just like wanted to be free again. So I started what I like to call the transformation. I started reading books on business and money like compulsively. I watched YouTube nonstop. I made to-do lists and goal lists almost every single day compulsively. And then I started trying stuff. First, I did an MLM and lost a ton of money and embarrassed myself. Then I was going to be like an investing genius and bought a bunch of penny stocks and lost all of my life savings, which was devastating. And then I was going to be an Instagram influencer, and like I tried a bunch of other things and failed at all of it. So I was like in the process of blowing up my 9-to-5 again because I was miserable. I needed $700 to pay my rent, and I promised myself that if I could make $700 online, I would not have to look for a job right away. So I bought a bunch of ring lights wholesale off of AliExpress, and I started selling them on Marketplace. I think I sold them for like a $40 markup. And your girl made her rent, and I was really excited. So even though I failed at becoming an influencer, I actually learned a ton about the platform. I was being really objective by trying to like learn how to do it all. I was especially like observant about the marketing that brands were doing to me. And then it kind of all clicked for me. The ring lights and the Instagram could go together, and I could use Instagram to sell physical products. I kind of started to understand supply chains, and then I just went full-fledged to learn everything that I could about e-commerce and marketing all day, every day. And literally in that first year, I built 4 different stores that sold $2.3 million of clothes on the internet. And my whole life changed. And I even have followers now. So like, keep trying, guys. All those failed got me closer every time.
I'm Bowen. Even though I live with my parents, we treat each other like strangers. We don't talk. I can't even remember the last time I had a conversation with my dad. I only remember my mom telling me to take out the trash a few weeks ago. Normally, she just points to the trash with her eyes. I was surprised that she actually said something to me that day at all. I do my own grocery shopping, I cook my own food, and I eat alone in my room. My parents love traveling. Of course, they never take me with them. They don't even tell me that they're going somewhere. If I don't see them at home 2 nights in a row, I know that they must have gone on a trip. I only find out where they've been after they come back by looking at the fridge, because wherever they go, they get a souvenir magnet and stick it there. They never ask me if I have any money. Thankfully, my grandma gives me money every week. She's my mother's mother and lives in a retirement home. My mom hasn't seen her in years. I visit her every Friday. I'm sure you're curious to know why they are treating me this way. I'll tell you why. Because they think I ruined their lives. My mom was only 20 years old when she got pregnant with me. She and my dad were both law school students. My mom gave birth to me even though she didn't want me at all. Because of that, she never got her degree. My dad also had to quit school and started working to be able to support us. One day, when I was in elementary school, my mom said to me, "If it wasn't for you, both your dad and I would have been successful lawyers today. But instead, I'm working as a secretary, and your dad is a mechanic. In case you're not aware, you destroyed our lives." Of course, hearing that at such a young age made me really upset. Now, I don't feel guilty, but I can't really say that I'm all that happy. I only feel good when I visit my grandma. That's why on Fridays, I don't walk, but run to the retirement home. Every week, my grandma's best friend, Aunt Zora, bakes a lemon cake for me. The three of us have cake as I tell them about everything that happened that week. I mostly talk about the things my parents have done. They listen to me very carefully, and they always have a lot to say. One Friday, when I arrived at the home, both my grandma and Aunt Zora looked really sad. Their eyes were all puffy from crying. Aunt Zora was being treated for cancer. I knew something bad had happened. Her doctor had told her that the cancer had spread all over her body. Nothing could be done anymore. Aunt Zora wiped the tears off her face and said, I asked the doctor, how long do I have? Please tell me. He said, maybe a week or a month. Almost certainly less than a year. It's really difficult to say this, but I can die any second now, she said. I was so sad. She was as close to me as my grandma. I wanted to say something to comfort her, but words had lost their meaning. Aunt Zora said, let's go to my room. I've had something on my mind for a while now. It's time to share it. My grandma and I stared at each other. We didn't get it. We followed Aunt Zora. She took out a notebook from the closet and handed it to me. I don't have anyone else in this world apart from you two. I think of your grandma as my sister and you as my grandson. This notebook is the only thing I can leave you, she said. I looked at the notebook. I could tell it was very old because the pages were all yellow. I flipped through it but couldn't figure out what it was. There were a lot of numbers and words I couldn't make out. Aunt Zora said, these are my great-grandfather's notes. He lived in France in the 1700s, and he was one of the most renowned alchemists of his time. Do you know what alchemy is? She asked me. I shook my head. No. Aunt Zora began to tell the story. In ancient Greece, China, and Europe, alchemists tried to transform materials such as iron and lead into gold by mixing different elements. They used to say, if you mix the right ingredients, you could turn a rusty key into solid gold. There were some who succeeded, but they didn't tell anyone about it. They kept it a secret. My great-grandfather was one of them. Thanks to him, our family lived comfortably for generations. We kept his secret, but I'm the last living member of my family, so no one else is left. I've decided that Bowen is the only person I can pass this on to. And I have some good news, too. The formula in this notebook transforms not only metals, but any object into gold. Listening to Aunt Zora, my grandma was surprised as I was. Anything at all, she asked? Yes, everything. There's even rumors about one of my great-uncles accidentally dipping his hand into this liquid, and his whole hand turning into gold. My grandma said, Zora, you really surprised me with this. Why do you live here if you're so wealthy? Aunt Zora smiled. Because I was so lonely. I decided to build this place because I wanted to have a lot of friends, she replied. My grandma screamed, What? This place belongs to you? Why didn't you tell me? Aunt Zora laughed. You never asked. Don't ask, don't tell. Then she took out a wooden box from the closet. She gave it to my grandma. And this is for you. But don't open it just yet. Don't ruin the surprise. You'll know when to open it, she said. While they were chatting, I was going through the pages of the notebook. Aunt Zora looked at me. The formula is on the last page. You need some chemicals. I'm sure you can find them on all that beloved internet of yours. Come on, get to work now, she said. Turning anything you wanted to gold. Was that really possible? I was sure Aunt Zora was telling the truth. If she was saying this worked, then of course it did. After that day, I began spending all my time researching the notebook that was from the 1700s. I read through the whole notebook to make a list of all the chemicals in the formula. It took a while, but I finally did it. There were 7 of them in total. After a long search, I figured out where I could buy them. The next step was ordering them. I was giddy with excitement, but when I came to the 6th chemical, my excitement turned into grief. Because this was a pretty rare element which sold for $1,000 per pound, and I didn't have that much money. I could think of only one solution. I could ask my parents for a loan. I went to the kitchen to talk to them. They were surprised to see me. My dad looked annoyed and said, What? I showed him the old notebook and told him what Aunt Zora had told us. I need $1,000. In return, I'll give you all the gold you want, so you can travel for the rest of your life and never have to see me again, I said. They both started laughing hysterically. My mom said, This boy has gone totally insane from lack of attention. How imaginative. He can turn anything into gold. My dad turned to me and asked, Did you really believe this stupid tale? You're so naive. No wonder we never felt close to you. I wasn't going to take another second of this. I ran out. I got on a bus to get to the retirement home. I wanted to tell Grandma and Aunt Zora about everything. When I walked in, everyone was crying. Clearly something bad had happened. I went to my grandma's room. She stood up when she saw me. Zora wasn't feeling well this morning. It all happened in a flash. She took her final breath in my arms, she said, and began sobbing. I ended up spending the night with my grandma. In the morning, she took out the wooden box that Aunt Zora had given her. We couldn't believe our eyes when we opened it. There were 3 golden eggs inside. I took one out. It was brilliant and shiny. I wished I could show those eggs to my dad and see the expression on his face. There was a piece of paper inside the box. It seemed to be a note from Aunt Zora. My grandma took it out and began to read. If you're reading this, then I must be gone. The day I got married, my dad turned 100 eggs into gold and gave them all to me. Each time I needed money, I would sell one and live comfortably for a while. These are the last few that are left. I wanted to give them to you since I have no need for them anymore. Goodbye, my dear sister. Once again, tears came pouring down my grandma's eyes. She knew I didn't want to go back home. We could sell one of these golden eggs and buy a house. We can live there together, she said. I happily agreed. Since we had enough money now, all I wanted was to try implementing the formula and to become a real alchemist. My grandma bought us a wonderful house. We converted the basement into a laboratory. I ordered all the chemicals and tools that I needed online. I grabbed the notebook and got to work. I began following the formula on the last page of the notebook very carefully. Like I said earlier, there were 7 different chemicals involved. I blended all of them in a bowl, but I was disappointed because the resulting liquid looked just like water. I thought after all that hard work I would finally get some kind of liquid gold, but this liquid didn't seem any different from tap water. Still, I decided to keep going. I was going to use some eggs for the experiment as well. I dropped an egg into the liquid. At first, nothing happened, but after a few moments, a lot of little bubbles started forming. Then the liquid began to boil on its own. I was watching completely mesmerized. The boiling suddenly stopped. The egg had turned golden and shiny. The formula worked. I'd succeeded in transforming an egg into pure gold. Now there was one more thing I had to do. I'm sure you can guess what it is. I wanted to teach my toxic parents a lesson. I went to their house. Neither of them was home because they were both working. I took all the magnets from the fridge and put them in a bag. Then I came back to my new home. I was so excited. I went down to the lab. I dipped each magnet into the liquid and turned them all into gold. I picked up the Las Vegas magnet and held it high. It was so striking and shiny. I couldn't help but laugh. I really wanted my parents to see these right away. I went to the kitchen and stuck the gold magnets onto the fridge. Then I took some pictures, created a group chat with my parents' numbers. I sent the photos of the magnets to the group. Are these our magnets? They look fantastic, my mom wrote first. Soon after, my dad wrote, Bowen, did you turn our magnets into gold? So the formula worked? What an incredible success! I'm proud of you! I wasn't going to reply, but they kept texting me. My dad wrote, we really need to catch up with you, son. Shall we go on a family trip together? We have to celebrate your success. My mom wrote, honey, where are you now? Send us your location. We'll come to you. We missed you so much. At that point, I'd had enough. I didn't expect my parents to sink so low for money. It also made me furious to think that they could fool me with a few nice words. I went down to my lab. My parents still kept texting me. I was holding my phone, but wasn't reading any of their texts. I slowly lowered my phone into the liquid. Soon after, it turned into gold. They couldn't text me anymore. That was the last time I heard from them.